What is going on, everybody? This is your boy Guess,
And of course, the midget.
and welcome to episode 2. Did not honestly think that it would go past episode 1, if I'm going to be completely and totally honest here. Um, yeah, it's been a
Interesting week, to say the least.
yeah, to say the least. And there are some things that we uh aren't going to be discussing, and then there are going to be things that we are going to be discussing. Um,
Please don't watch the dumpster fire of the U.S. if you live outside of the U.S.
I mean, you can watch a dumpster fire,
Just bring marshmallows.
and just keep in mind that you're to learn from it and all of that. Um,
And I
but
apologize in advance if he decides to go to any of your countries.
I highly doubt that that's ever going to be the case.
He said
Uh,
if he lost the election, he was going to leave the U.S.
oh,
So I apologize in advance if Trump leaves the U.S. and goes to any of your countries.
but anyways, so it is a new week, and we are a couple of days closer to the release of the next generation of gaming consoles. Woo! Yay!
Hopefully, you have money saved up because they're not cheap.
They really aren't. Well, I mean,
Comparatively, yes.
one of them is cheaper, but it's also smaller.
Yes, but the thing is if you look back across the generations and you look at the original Xbox, it was $350 for the basic bare bones model.
Right.
In today's money, that would probably still be about $1,000.
No. I think honestly it would be right around the same price that it is today of these newer consoles that are coming out.
I was gonna say $20 because that's all you get for trade-in value.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I don't like GameStop just for that reason, because it's like, oh hey, I just got this brand new game. I haven't even opened it. I literally bought it 20 minutes ago, and now I'm just like, nah. You know what? I'm second guessing it. I want to go ahead and I'm gonna go to GameStop and sell it. Oh, we can give you $15 cash or $30 in store credit. I just paid $60 for it.
Except now they're not doing cash; they're only doing in-store credit.
See, that's stupid. Man, I remember going to GameStop when I was a kid and just being like, "Yo, I got all these games." They're like, "Cool, we'll give you $100 for them." I mean, all right.
As a kid, $100 is like woohoo. As an adult, you're like, yay.
That pays for 2 weeks of gas, maybe. But no, like the PlayStation 5, which looks like a wireless router, is coming out on November 12th for about $500 if you get the actual system. Um,
Well, the actual system that allows discs.
right. Or you can pay $400 for the system that you can only get digital downloads for. You know, which is that's where games are moving toward. Like, I can't tell you the last time I actually went ahead and I bought a game that actually had a disc on it. Majority of the games that we have on the Xbox right now is they're all digital. So it's like, cool. You know, I don't have to worry about, making space for games. I don't have to worry about,
Where did this
not
disc
find
disappear to?
exactly not finding a disc because, you don't ever put it back, which is stupid, and I hate it, and is one of my pet peeves. But
There
at
might
this,
actually be one in the system now, so
well, I know there is one.
oops.
Um, but at the same time, like, it sucks because the game takes up space, which then your saving takes up even more space. I mean, right now the biggest thing on my Xbox right now that's taking up the most space, surprisingly, is not Destiny. It's the Halo Master Chief Edition,
Yeah,
which has
5 games.
four
That was
four
seven.
games. Nope, four. Has Halo 1, 2, 3,
ODST?
No, you might be right. It does have 5 games because it's one, two, three, four, and ODST. Um, so I mean, there's pros and cons of each, you know. But one of the big things that is coming out with the PS5 are some of the exclusives to it. You got Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is a sequel to the Amazing Spider-Man game that came out 2 years ago. I've seen gameplay of it, and it looks on point. You
Which
got
sucks because Xbox people or people that prefer to have Xbox, they don't get some of these cool ass games.
well, that's you got to also consider Spider-Man is owned by Sony.
Yeah.
Like they Marvel and Disney had to make a deal with Sony in order to have Spider-Man in the MCU and in the Avengers, all of the Avengers stuff.
Which might bring up an interesting point about why Marvel Ultimate Alliance is no longer on Xbox.
No, not really. That I'm not sure about that. I think they didn't have like as big of a fan base or people actually playing it at that point, which is why they went ahead and they're like, nah. But then you also have coming out with it, Horizon 2, Forbidden West. Horizon Beyond the Beyond Horizon game was, oh my goodness, amazing. Like I watched an entire playthrough of that from the Rad Brad and on YouTube, and this game is just beautiful. The artistic styling is great. The combat system was awesome. The scavenging, the storyline, toward the end there, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. But for the most part, I mean, everything was just beautiful on it. And then you got Gran Turismo 7, another vroom vroom racing car game.
Beep beep.
Pretty much. You know, Backwards compatibility on this PS5 though, you're going to be able to get almost every single PS4 game, including the optimized pro titles like that came out that were like, "Oh, this game, it was great."
Revamped.
Not revamped, but more graphically involved.
Well, see, and that's the thing is like if you're gonna get a new system, if you're gonna spend the $500 on a new system, don't you think it should be able to have a little more backwards compatibility stuff? I mean, it's only PS4 games that they're talking about backwards
Right.
compatibility. It you can't play PS3 games, you can't play PS2 games, and forget PS1 games. But then again, why would you want to play a PS1 game on a brand new PS5?
Unless
But
they
that's just me.
remastered it.
Yes.
Like what they're doing with Final Fantasy 7.
Hurry up, Square Enix.
um as for the more tech specs of it, the CPU is the 8 core 3.5 gigahertz and Zen 2 processor. You got a 10.3 teraflop GPU. RAM wise, you got 16 gigs. Storage, 825 gigs. Custom SSD, which is kind of like an expansion pack, quote unquote.
Which
On it.
only having 825 um, gigs is not necessarily the best thing with some of the game sizes and the
I
game
mean,
files.
I'm gonna put this out there. Look at right now the size for Destiny before Beyond Light comes out when they shrink everything down. I mean, I'm looking at 120 ish gigs of storage right there.
Just for one game.
Yeah, so it's like I can get 8, 7 of those that same type of size of game, and then be like, well, I can't do anything else. Resolution you got up to 8K, which is good. It is really, really good. 4K, beautiful. I want to see what 8K looks like. And then you got the 120 FPF frame rate, you know, which is great because the more frames that you have, the smoother and the more crisp the image looks. Yeah. Um, and then you go ahead and you look at the Xbox Series X that's coming out. Now, there's going to be two different versions of this. There's going to be a smaller one, which is going to be your digital only. And last I seen, that's going to run you probably about 300, 400 bucks. I think the last one I saw was like 299, for the smaller one. It's smaller as in like size wise smaller. And then you got the bigger one that's going to be, up to 500. That's going to be 499, but you can use discs in it. Um, especially, I mean, I've seen what the Xbox Series X looks like. I like the design of it. I don't like the cheese grater on the top. It looks ridiculous.
But it's more open for
I
airflow,
mean, I can understand that.
and they've got what I'm seeing on the bottom, the base of it around the bottom. You have smaller vents where so the airflow can come in and go out,
Right.
and it's a good circulation, which has been a problem for the Xbox One because if you put it in a regular like entertainment center or anything
Yeah.
like that, you don't have the clearance for intercooler fan, which I got for you.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you have the room for an intercooler fan, that intercooler fan gets so dusty so quick, and it just like heats everything up. And the Xbox One stays pretty hot consistently.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't tell, we're a little biased toward Xbox. I've grown up as a kid. I had a Sega Genesis. I had a Nintendo.
I still have my PS2.
I had a Super Nintendo. I had an original PlayStation. I had both versions of the PS2. The big fat boy and the Slim Jim. I had Game Boys, Game
I
Boy
had the big fat boy.
Advances. I had a Game Boy DS, and then I didn't actually
PSP.
have. I had a PSP. But I didn't actually own an original Xbox. My first Xbox was the Xbox 360, and at that point, I'm just like, I love this system, so I've just stuck with it.
The original Xbox weighs like 3 times as much as the Xbox 360.
Oh, I
I'm
know.
not even joking.
Oh, I know. But with the Xbox Series X, release date is November 10th, which
Tuesday.
yeah, is fantastic. Every place I've looked is all sold out, so which sucks.
They're looking at being sold out until the beginning of January.
Which doesn't surprise me. But with just like with PlayStation, Xbox has their own exclusives, including the
Before we get started on that, if you guys hear any jingling or any knocking around, we apologize. We have two cats that think they have run of the house, which let's face it, they do.
no, but coming out with the key exclusives with the Xbox Series X. I mean, you got from everything I've heard the end of the Master Chief saga in Halo Infinite. You got,
Which
and
I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I liked how Halo Guardians ended. Um, I'm just a little iffy on the future. It's kind of like what happened with Kingdom Hearts. You know how they ended that one. Now, granted, Kingdom Hearts is coming. They're making a Melody of Memories, which is gonna kind of be a rhythm sequence game, kind of like Guitar Hero or DJ Hero, for all those who remember DJ Hero. Um, anyways, um, but I am looking forward to Infinite. You got Suzuna's Saga, Hellblade 2. Now, Suzuna's whatever, Senua, the first game was holy crap. It explored so much in the realm of like psychology and how people deal with loss and grief. You know, and then you got a Vroom Vroom. You got the Forza Motorsport 8 coming out on Xbox, and then you got State of Decay 3. Now the first two I haven't played. I've heard about them. They're decent games.
They like zombie military style.
Yeah, that take place in Mother Russia.
No.
you know, backwards compatibility for the Xbox though. You're gonna get all the Xbox One games. and then you're gonna get some Xbox 360 games and some original Xbox games, which is like
Insane.
why? But it is insane. Um, coming up, for the CPU, you got the 8 core, uh, 3.8 gigahertz processor with the Zen 2. GPU wise, you got 12 teraflops, which is 1.7 more teraflops than the PS5. RAM wise, about the same. You got 16 gigs. Storage wise, though, you're gonna get a whopping 1 terabyte of storage with that same style of removable storage. But I have seen different cards just for the Xbox that's going to give you 4 terabytes of storage.
There's one for 10 terabytes.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I don't understand how many how many games people can play that they need 10 terabytes.
I mean, just look at Destiny.
If it took up a terabyte of storage, I'd be questioning.
But then resolution and frame rate are going to be about the same. They're both looking at 8K for resolution and 120 FPS for frame rate. So all in all, it's looking promising. It's looking real nice. It's looking real good on.
The one thing I haven't seen, and I'm sorry to interrupt, is if they're working together on a collaboration to have cross-platform capabilities.
Well, some games do.
Like what I'm curious about is definitely Destiny.
Well, they do have. On some cases, they do have for Destiny that cross-platform play, especially after Bungie and Activision went ahead and was like, "Nah, we're not working together anymore.
We're not playing in the sandbox together anymore."
Yeah. Beyond Light is actually going to be the first uh, release for Destiny after they left Activision, I believe.
And it's kind of interesting because now that Destiny and Activision have split, Activision has been able to focus more on their other games. Like, I don't know if anybody plays the Crash Bandicoot series, but it's made by Activision and
Naughty Dog. It's made by Activision and
Naughty Dog and Toys for Bob, which has been there since the beginning, but Activision is coming up with some pretty decent games now that they're not solely concentrating or focusing their energy on Destiny.
Yeah. And
which on the same aspect, Destiny is able to focus more on their own game.
Yeah. And not having to cut things out of some of what they've wanted to release, which is dope. I love it. Like, hella love it. But at the same time, it's what is it going to take away? Like, what are they not going to be able to do? Beyond Light was supposed to have come out in September, but
Thank you, COVID.
I think part of that is COVID, but the other part is they weren't able to have all of the people that they had from Activision helping work on the game to get all the bugs addressed, to get all the issues worked out, and all the wrinkles smoothed over, so to speak, on the game. So that's why they had to bump it back to November.
Which I mean is awesome because games, if they need to focus on putting out a better quality and less buggy and laggy game, then by all means delay it a month or two. If it's going to make the game better and more playable by more people,
just take a look at Cyberpunk.
Look at how long it took Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out. Look how long it took It's About Time, which is Crash Bandicoot 4, to come out. From the release of the first Crash Bandicoot to the release of the fourth Crash Bandicoot, there was 29 years.
Okay.
25 from the third Crash Bandicoot.
Okay.
So taking the time, and I don't know if anybody's checked this game out yet. It's phenomenal. The bosses are a lot harder. Believe me, I was stuck on one for over a week. And
Well, you also don't play it very often.
I'm only on the 4th island out of the 5th island. I think there's only 5, yeah, because there's 5 masks. But, it's a lot more in depth. There's a lot more to do, and it's just overall a better quality game.
But once going back to the systems themselves, how long has the Xbox One been out? How long has the PS4 been out?
I think the Xbox One's been out 5 years because you were in school at Colorado Media School.
Which was about 3 years ago.
No, it was about 4 years.
3 years.
Because you've been graduated almost 2. It'll be 2 in May.
I think it's longer than that. But that one came out when I was going to school. You know, the Xbox One came out while I was going to school. But for them to finally release a new system,
But we've also got the Xbox One X, the Xbox One
yeah,
S.
but that's kind of
They're
like getting
smoothing
the
out wrinkles.
yeah, that's like for PlayStation, that's like the PS3 and the PS3 Pro, or for the Xbox, it's like the Xbox 360. Then you had the Xbox 360 Pro. Then you had like it's an upgrade to an original system. Is pretty much what it is. It's not a completely new system. It's
more bells and whistles.
Yeah, more bells and whistles, less issues, all of that. So it's like I'm excited. I've not been this excited since I got my Xbox in the first place. You know, I am really looking forward to seeing what these new systems have to offer and what they bring to the table, so to speak. How well are they going to actually do? Are what major problems, kind of like the red ring of death on the original Xbox 360s, you know, the ones where you had to stick them in the oven for like a couple of minutes just so that way everything can remelt and re-get back into place, you know.
Which is a strange concept.
But what new things are these systems going to bring? What new possibilities and new capabilities and new
Problems.
problems are going to happen?
Which is why I'm okay with waiting for the second wave of Xbox Series X to come out. Because the initial set of Xbox Series X is going to have those little bugs and those little tweaks and those little issues. So the second wave of them coming out, which is possibly going to be January, is going to have some more of those tweaks worked out, which is why I'm like, okay, I'm not in a hurry to get it right away. But at the same time, it's like, that would be nice.
It would be nice. Trust me, if I would have been a little more on top of it, we definitely would have had pre-ordered the Xbox Series X sooner. I lost where I was going with that.
Well, when they put out the release date, the original release date for it, they were gone. There was no chance in getting them.
There really wasn't. No chance in any sort of anything, you know. So it's kind of like, am I happy about it? Sure. Do I wish I would have been a little more on top of it? Yeah. Yep. Most definitely. I am having such a problem with my words today. I'm not even drunk.
We wish we were, but we're not. Although I think the cats may have gotten into the catnip.
Did you make sure to put it up somewhere?
I wasn't the last one that had it. I think our children were.
Oh, yeah, that would explain it.
This is looking like
Oh, Jeebus. Yeah, he's a little spastastic right now. Uh, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the future. You know, I'm looking forward to all the good and the bad that's gonna happen with these new systems. You know. So how have you been though? Been all right? I know I haven't seen you. I know it's weird to ask you this because
You see me every day.
but between my work schedule and your work schedule, there's not a whole lot of time to talk here. You know, so how's everything been?
In the words of D&D, I have at least one point of exhaustion.
Okay.
I feel like I'm sleeping like trash. And you get people around me at work and in general public that like to be asshats is a good word for it. I
Yeah.
mean, rude, lewd, crude, socially unacceptable people.
So how does that make you feel?
You're not my psychiatrist. I
I
am
am not,
sleeping with you.
I am completely away from being a psychiatrist. No, not happening. I respect shrinks. I you know I understand them. I don't. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I get that there are times that you just need somebody to talk to who is completely and totally separate from the situation and outside of purview and all of that. But at the same time, it's like, bruh, if I really wanted to talk to somebody about what's really bothering me, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk to the actual person. Why waste time and a metric buttload of money on talking to somebody when I can just go next door and be like, "Yo, dude, need your advice on something." Yo, my man, call up one of my homies, be like, "Yo, I gotta vent. I gotta get this off my chest."
Or to your clanmates going, my
Yeah, there's
friending.
that. I just as a general rule of thumb, I think people suck. Like when put into not one on one, not actually giving a flying hootenanny about an individual and them being more Kung Pao focused on themselves. I don't know why Kung Pao was involved, but it works. Focused on themselves, people suck. You know, in a group, people really suck. One on one, they have the capability of being great, but at the same time, it's like,
Wizard's first rule.
oh yeah, definitely Wizards first rule.
People are stupid is Wizard's first rule.
In a group, people are stupid. As a general populace, people are stupid. Individually, individuals are smart as hell. They're caring. They're kind. You know, they
For the
they
most part.
they actively care about other people for the most part. But then you have, you know, not to use this word because this is almost as offensive as saying the N word. Yes, that was a legitimate thing that somebody said. Karens suck. And I
Yes.
still have not figured out a decent male name for a Karen.
Kyle.
I have a brother who's named Kyle. He doesn't suck.
Kyle.
All right, whatever. But just I don't understand how people can be so
Idiotic.
me, and not care about anybody else and anybody else's feelings. Um, you know, I don't I don't get it. How can people go ahead and just be so rude?
So on that note
So
about rudeness,
don't get me wrong. I understand that people
get busy.
not even get busy, but it's more of a people are entitled to their own opinion, you know. And how somebody else sees you is none of your business. It's them, you know. But at the same time, just because you're entitled to an opinion doesn't mean that you have to share it. Like, do you want to go ahead and be? Would you like for some of these people who are like this? Do you want to be walking down the street and being like yada yada, minding my own business, and then somebody just runs up to you and it's like ah, blah, 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 and then take off or just leave, and you're just stuck there with like, well, shit. What was that about? No, nobody wants that shit. Nobody wants to feel that way. So why do we as individuals feel the need, feel the necessity?
To tear other people down.
Exactly. Like if you're not feeling that great about yourself, there are programs that you can get into. You can go to the gym, go for a walk, do something to help improve how you see yourself, and you'll be fine. Why go ahead and attack somebody just because you don't feel pretty enough? Just because you're having a bad day? If I'm not the cause of you having a bad day, don't you be taking your shit out on me. Like, that's just how I am.
It's rude.
It's not just rude, it's spiteful, it's mean, and it's ass backwards on what everybody subconsciously thinks. Like, everybody has this mindset of, well, I'm a good person. I do this and I help this I've helped this person out. I've helped that person out. Well, unfortunately, just because you help one or two people out doesn't erase the negative comment you said to your waiter. Doesn't erase the negative comment or the hatefulness that you spat at your neighbor. It doesn't take away the hurtful remarks that you went ahead and inflicted on somebody at a gas station. Like,
Yes, that happened to me.
it doesn't take away from that. And just because you're in a bad mood or things aren't going the way that you want them to, you're gonna go ahead and snap off on somebody and be like, nah, 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 nah. People go ahead and go around to random people that aren't their own skin color or don't have the same belief as them, and you're what's wrong with this country. No, let me make one thing absolutely,
Enlighten you.
absolutely, and transparently clear. What's wrong with this country is that people
What's wrong with the world?
that works. What's wrong with the world is that people are refusing to do good. They are refusing to be kind. They are refusing to show love to everybody they come across.
The basis of any religion, and this is the only part of religion I'm bringing into this, the basis of any religion is loving your neighbor.
Love.
Love. Period.
And yet, you often find the people who have the most, who are more financially successful, are often the most emotionally bankrupt or morally bankrupt.
I mean, let's face it, I'm a broke bitch and I am happier and treat people better than some of my wealthier counterparts.
Yeah, like I'm not wealthy in any way, shape, or form when it comes to monetary, but I don't judge people when I first meet them on how they look. I don't sit there and when I do find out more about them, I'm not sitting there like, "Oh, you believe this? Oh, no, we can't be friends."
Our differences is what makes us unique
Our
and
differences is what
makes
makes us
everything
great.
beautiful.
You can't if you were to go ahead and take a look at, you want to talk about beauty, you want to go ahead and you can't tell me that you'll go into You'll look over a thing of trees, a grove of trees, and they're all the same. They're all the same height. They're all the same color. They have everything is identical. You cannot tell me that is more beautiful than walking through a forest with different trees, different terrain, different, sections. Some are taller, some are smaller, some have
When
started to
everything is the
change.
same, it gets boring.
Yeah. It's in the chaos and it's in the differences that beauty is found. I could go ahead and go to 3 different locations and be like, these are the most beautiful spots on this planet. You could go into 3 different locations and be like, no, these 3 are the actual most beautiful places on this planet. And guess what? We both would be right. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, yo, you're wrong. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're looking at. Because how I see things is different than how you're going to see things. But I'm not going to force my opinion on you. I'm not going to force you to see my point. I'm not going to force you to go ahead and be like, no, you're right. I'm going to drop everything that I thought because you told me that I was wrong.
And seeing back to the original point is on being rude. I mean, that's all part of it. But you have to remember that no matter where you go, and this is something that was brought up to me last night when I was in a really bad spot, really quiet, which is not normal for me.
That really isn't.
That people are going to be ugly no matter where you go. And by ugly, I mean their attitudes, their actions. But I actually had somebody say to me, and I'll start at the beginning of this story. I work at a gas station. I won't say where, but I work at a gas station that now in the U.S. you have to be 21 and up to buy cigarettes. You have to show ID. I ID everybody. I don't know. I don't care if I know you or not. I ID everybody.
You ID'd me the other day.
Your lack of an ID is not worth my job. Sorry.
We live together and you're married to me and you ID'd me the other day.
Yep. Don't care. But lady pulled up at the gas station and her child, who was maybe a year or two older than our daughter, who is 12. So you figure about 13, 14 years old, she sends her daughter up there to buy a pack of cigarettes because she was on the phone. Well, I told her that I cannot sell them to her because she is not old enough. She was like, okay, went back to the car, told her mother, and with the windows closed and my speaker off, I could hear this lady screaming that, can't you see I'm busy? I'm on the phone. What is it with these people? And then she comes storming up to the window and tells me I'm wasting her time, that she's busy on an important phone call, and that's why she sent her 13-year-old child up to my window to buy cigarettes. I again apologized politely, which I can be rude at times, but I apologized politely and said, ma'am, I am not allowed to sell cigarettes to somebody who doesn't have an ID showing that they are 21 and older. Well, she has my ID. It doesn't matter. It's not her ID. And she turned around and says, well, that's what's messed up with this world is you and your pregnant meth head ass, and starts calling me all these derogatory names. And I mean, my teeth aren't the greatest because, well, I didn't take care of them very well when I was a child. And children, when you're pregnant, steal your calcium. So I have terrible teeth. I have no teeth on the bottom, and the ones on the top are going that way as well. But for her to call me a drug addict and say that my children should be taken, and generally making me feel like shit because she's having a bad day because I wouldn't sell her child cigarettes. I'm sorry, that would be cause for celebration in my book. If I sent my kid up to the window and they said they couldn't sell them cigarettes, I'd be like, cool, this is a place I want to be. But no, because she was having a bad day because she actually had to get out of her car to come buy her own cigarettes.
She had a "I'm more important than anybody else" attitude. Pretty much what it boiled down to, and that's just not how things go. That's not how things should be. You know, Nobody is more important than anybody else. And that is just something that I've adopted in my own way of thinking. I'm not more important than, the guy standing on the corner asking, "Hey, do y'all have any change?" I'm not more important than, somebody who's more well off than I am. They're not more important than me. We have this world together. We are in this together. This is a giant group experience with a bunch of individual experiences as well. And for us to have this mentality of, well, you need to do what I tell you because of where you work at. You need to do what I tell you because I make more, or I have a better car, or I have a bigger house, or I'm married to this person or related to this person. I don't care. If I'm out on the road and I'm helping somebody out and it could be, the president of the United States, it could be some guy who this is his only car, I'm going to treat them the same. Why? Because I'm not more important than they are, and they are not more important than me. We are all equal in importance, and a lot of people aren't understanding that, or they do understand it, they just don't care. They have this bloated sense of ego that I'm better, I'm bigger, I make more. Who cares? Guess what? When you die, one of two things happens. You either get buried in the ground like everybody else, or you get turned into ashes like everybody else. And you don't get to bring any of what you earned or what you bought or what was given to you into the next one. That or next, wherever you believe that you go. You don't get to bring any of that with you. It all stays here. And all that's left behind is the things that you leave behind physically and the memory of you. So you have to go ahead and make that decision. Am I going to leave behind a great memory, a great legacy? Yeah, I may not have been the most well off, but people are going to remember me fondly because I helped them out. I talked to them. I went ahead and I showed them, different things. I was all in all a good person. Or am I going to leave behind a legacy of, man, he really didn't give a whole lot to anybody. He really hurt a lot of people. He I mean, his kids didn't even come and say bye to him because he was just not a nice person. That's not you have to make that decision on, is that what you're going to leave behind, or are you going to make the world a better place, to still align from Critical Role, you know.
And see, my thing is about that whole situation is that after she did that, the daughter came flying back out of the car and was looking at me with a look of horror on her face about the way her mother was acting. I mean, it's pretty sad as adults act like this, and the children are the ones taking a step back and being like,
Yeah, like when did the adults turn into teenage, like not even teenagers, toddlers, and the children have to make apologies for the adults? It shouldn't be that way.
no. And I mean, it, even though I know no part of what she said is true, because A, I can't have any more kids. I have no insidey parts. Okay. For two, I have never once in my life touched a drug stronger than marijuana.
What's the matter with weed?
And I mean, Now a lot of the states are legalizing recreational marijuana, which is going to be great for my migraines, by the way. But it's like, even though I knew none of it was true,
It still stung.
it hurt, and it still hurts because it's like, is that the air I give off? Is that the personality that I have, that I show people? And I try my damnedest to be kind to everybody. But at that moment in time, I wanted nothing more than to slap this lady across the face and apologize to her daughter because her mother was acting like,
Thundercunt.
exactly. And that's the thing, is like, why? Why? If you're having a shitty day, or if you're having a busy day and you need a cigarette that bad, then why be rude to the people who are going to sell them to you?
Because the only thing that's gonna make me do is be like, oh, sorry, we're out.
And I mean, and the thing is like, she came up to the window and was spouting all that nonsense to me, making me feel like shit, making me feel bad about myself, and questioning everything that I do and everything that I say. That I still was kind to her. And I still sold her the cigarettes because I know what it's like to be busy and to be in a rush and to want a cigarette really bad. Because at that point, after that happened, I was like, I'm going on break. I need a cigarette. But I was still kind to her. I was still polite and, did my job. And granted, I could have told her that she needed to go somewhere else for the cigarettes, but I still didn't. And that's what her daughter needed to see, is that even though her mother is a rude cunt, and I do not use that word lightly, I was still polite.
Yeah, it's just it all boils back down to a sense of I'm more important than everybody
Entitlement.
else. You know, and nobody is more important than anybody.
Granted, my children still come first, but
Yeah,
that's the way it is.
and that's the way it should. So, PSA for today. If you take nothing else from what you're hearing, if you take nothing else from anything that we have to say, just be kind.
And don't forget to love each other.
Be kind. Help somebody out. It shouldn't matter what they look like. It shouldn't matter what they believe. It shouldn't matter who they decide to, you know, be attracted to, or how they see themselves, or what stage in life they are in. It should not matter. Be kind. Be courteous. Don't be a dick. Love. Love, 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 love. It's about it. Love one another. I'm not saying fall in love with them. I'm not saying treat them like they're family if they're not. I'm not saying to, you know, just be put yourself out there for everybody and anybody. But you come across a stranger, love them. Be kind. Be patient. Be courteous. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. And you'll find that this world isn't as bad as you originally had thought. Is it bad? Oh, right now the world's a dumpster fire. Between COVID and
Leadership.
general stupidity, you know, the world is it needs help. But if you're kind to somebody, even if it's one person a day, you'll find that the world isn't as bad as you had seen it before. If you do one nice thing for somebody, that's going to inspire that person to do something nice for somebody else. And it just goes down the line. And who knows, your one nice thing could end up touching millions of people.
It's like the stone in the pond. It has a ripple effect.
Just be nice. Don't be a dick. I'm glad I got that off my chest. How about you?
Yeah, because it shows just how rude people can be.
So let's just table this for later. Put it off to the side. Speaking of tables, like that transition, like that little segue,
Ha ha.
let's talk about something that we both hold very dear to us, and that's tabletop gaming. Whether it's Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's villainous or card games or
Other various board games.
life, Monopoly, Battleship, all of like I can remember a time where I didn't have a gaming system. Now, granted, it seems like it was so long ago that I didn't actually have access to a gaming system, but I remember what it was like not having a gaming system. I remember my parents telling me what it was like before, video games came out and them sitting around and them playing Monopoly, which is a friendship breaker, or, you know, Life, or some of my more nerdier friends, sitting around and playing Dungeons and Dragons. I remember hearing about all this stuff. Why do you think, let me put it this way, why do you think we as a generation have stepped away from the old school tabletop games? And it's only here recently that we've seen a resurgence in it.
Well, see, a lot of people, and I mean myself included at times, especially with our generation and our generation as parents and then our kids, there are times where because you work so much, you do so much stuff outside of work, you've got household stuff, you've got a second job because let's face it, nobody can afford anything without having a job. At least two people working in the house, or if one person is working two jobs, that it's become a habit that you just tell your kids, or you know, you even in order to relax alone, you tell the kids, go play on your phone, go play a game, go do this. And the first thing they do is jump on a system because it's convenient. If we had to go somewhere to like a public area, like a library or something like that, to hop on a computer, guarantee you none of us would be on computers because nobody wants to have a half-hour time limit or stuff like that. But it's convenience. I mean, we come home from work and we're so dog tired, it's like I have to force myself to stay standing long enough to get dinner started so that I know I either A, have it in the Instant Pot, it'll be ready in an hour, or B, I have it on the stove so I have to monitor it closely.
And that's mainly because I'm not at home. Otherwise, I'd be cooking.
And things like that, if I come in and I sit down first before I get dinner started, it takes a lot for me to get back up to get dinner started. That's the reason why I'm trying to get into the habit of this. If I work till 5, I come in the I come in the door and get dinner started right away, so that way we can still eat at a decent hour. But it's like I said, it's all out of convenience because at the end of the day, at the end of a long day, yeah, it's nice to see your kids. It's nice to get love from them. And it's nice to do this, that, and the other. But sometimes you just want a little bit of alone time, or time with your significant other before You get bombarded with, Mom, can I do this? Mom, can I do that? Dad, can I do this? Hey, can I go to the park? Can I do this? You know, which is great. Going outside is great. And I would love to be able to do that.
Wear your masks.
Wear your mask. But like like I said, it's out of convenience because if they didn't have access to these systems, they would be playing more board games. If we didn't have the extra systems, they would be playing more board games or they'd be reading more. And that's the sad part is, what happened to family night, family game night where you sit down and play a board game or in our case like Dungeons and Dragons or Dungeon Mayhem or other tabletop stuff, away from the electronics. But it's just like finding a common time for everybody to be home, finding a common time where we're not busy with extracurricular stuff like kids with orchestra and anime club and
Or sports ball.
or sports ball, depending on the family. But you get into those days where you're just like, let's order pizza and we can watch this on Netflix, or while we're waiting on pizza, Zach, you can play your game, and then after dinner, I'll play my game, and or we'll sit there and watch Queer Eye, which I got addicted to, which is really awesome. But it's like you do things out of convenience, and I mean that's where we've got to get out of that habit is doing things just because they're convenient. Making more of an effort to spend time with the family as a whole.
Okay, so what do you think caused a resurgence in interest in these tabletop games?
They're coming out with some pretty decent ideas. I mean, Disney's Villainous, for example. It's not the typical, oh, I'm the hero, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. No, it's you're playing as the villains and you get to jack shit up. I mean, it's that's all it's about, and for that game, it's like it's a really awesome twist on things. And like Life, they're coming out with cool editions. They have one where, I mean, we've created our own where, do you want to get married to a guy or a girl today? A guy? Cool. Good job, son. That type of deal. Or my daughter, hey, you want to get married to a guy or a girl? I'm going to marry a girl today. It's those things. They're coming out with more rounded and
Open?
accepted and open games, and it's really cool to watch. I mean, hell, they came out with something called Monopoly Cheaters Edition where the whole goal is to cheat and get away with it. I mean, come on. How many of us did that as a kid where if we were the banker, we took an extra 20,
Well, when my uncle and my mom used to play, my uncle actually introduced like, oh, you can put stuff on credit, and he actually bought go, go to jail, jail, and free parking. He purchased those, and it's like I didn't know that they were able to be purchased. Oh yeah, and then you can put them on a credit card, and you'll be fine. You know, hence the reason why Monopoly is a friendship breaker. Uno is another friendship breaker.
I can't tell you how many tables have been flipped because of Monopoly or Uno.
But for me,
Uno actually got banned in my house growing up.
I think part of I agree with part of what you said. We are so like we're looking for convenience. Um we're looking for an easy, quick form of entertainment. But at the same time it's the fun of having these shared experiences with our loved ones, with our family that should make it make playing these tabletop games more appealing, more attractive. Take for example Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't have to be mythical. There doesn't have to be any sort of fantasy in it. I mean, how there are games out there where yeah, it's orcs and half elves and monsters and goblins and all of that. And that's one version of it. there are other ones that it's like, oh, you're taking place and it's out in space. It's in the future, dystopian past, or dystopian present, or well, whatever. You have all of these different ways to play, and it's what it boils down to for me. What Dungeons and Dragons is it is a giant story. It is
It's
a
a game of
story.
imagination.
It is a story that the players and the dungeon master or the game master are putting together, and they are making one big overarching story. How things would be with characters that players of making. How would it be? And some people, they use the game as therapy in a way. You know, they sit there and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to uh, you know, I'm going through this problem right now. Okay, how would my character go through it?" Like there are stories where somebody is going through a really rough time in their actual life. And yet in the game, their character is having to deal with a situation or a scenario where it goes against something morally for them. And what it translates to from real life to in game is how would this problem affect the character?
And it's all about alignment, how would you act this out if you're a good character, a bad character, chaotic evil, that type of stuff. And it's different ways to act out the same scenario. And you could have 10 players and acting it out 10 different ways.
Well, the one I was referring to is there was actually somebody had told this story, and I can't remember who, but they were running a game, and one of their characters was playing a paladin. Now, paladin, for all those who are not nerdy, is a holy knight that has magic that devotes their life and they get their magic from their god or whoever they choose to follow. And they were going through stuff in their real life, and yet in the game, their character was going through an identity crisis because of you know they were so against necromantic magic, but one of the other characters used almost solely necromantic magic. And how would their character be able to figure out, be able to work with this person? How did they see themselves now that they know this?
And it kind of translates into real life, too. I mean, it's like, accepting each other's differences and, still being able to come to a common ground or
Well, he actually used the game to figure out the problem that he was having in real life, you know. But then there are other games where it's like you're in space and you're, kind of like the brown jackets from Serenity and Firefly, you know, or the brown coats, or there are other games where it's like you are a character in a pre-existing well-known world like Lord of the Rings, Marvel, DC. There are different tabletop games for all of these different things. And then that's not even to begin talking about all the homebrew stuff, all the stuff that the game master makes up. One, because it sounds really cool, and two, he makes it up for his characters to have their own personalized game.
like Matt Mercer and coming up with
The
some of the
world of
stuff he
Exandria.
coming up with some of the stuff in his brain, which don't
Holy
try to
crap.
follow.
Dude has
Yeah,
over 1,000 NPCs with names and accents. Holy shit.
he's a genius.
But he made the world of Critical Role that they play in based off of something, but it's a unique experience. It is individualized for his players. And
And
there
no
are
two sessions are ever the same.
and there are some people who do the same for their players. So it doesn't just have to be, oh, magic and swords and spears and bows. It could be technology and guns and spaceships, you know, or it could be,
I've seen
vampires
somebody,
and monsters
and I
and
mean, I've seen somebody come up with a homebrew that's based around Minecraft. I mean, come on, it D&D has such a plethora of options
look
that
at Undead Wood.
exactly.
Wild West?
I
Come
mean, Brian
on.
W. Foster is a genius. I mean, he's not quite at the Matt Mercer level of
He's a genius.
creativity.
He is a
He's a
genius in
genius in own right.
his own right. That you can't come. You can't. It is not
It's apples
fair.
and oranges.
It's not fair to compare two different DMs.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like even though they're vastly different, and one's been doing it longer, one's been doing it shorter, one has more voices. It doesn't matter. They both made a unique experience for their players.
And it was enjoyable.
And I mean, still, Brian W. Foster, still a genius. Undeadwood was like one of my favorite standalone type deals. I wish he would do more.
Oh yeah.
I wish he would just join Critical Role's Mighty Nine cast and get it over with, but hint hint, Matt Mercer.
Brian Foster. It's highly unlikely that they're ever going to listen to this, but if they do, come on, get on that shit. But at the same, not everything has to be the same. Like, I run a game for you guys, and it's based in Exandria. I would love to have the opportunity to run one for my parents who were so against Dungeons and Dragons that I'm aware of as a kid, because I mean we weren't allowed to say, oh, I'm a magic person. We weren't allowed to, imagine. We were advised
It was
against.
considered a devil's game.
Yeah. You know, the Satanic Panic back in the 70s and 80s about Dungeons and Dragons has made a lot of the D&D people go underground back then because they didn't want to get outcast or ostracized. But nowadays it's like, dude, you play D&D? Dope. What's your character? I would love to run a game for my mom and dad.
That'd be hysterical.
I would love to sit down and talk with them and be like, yo, all right, here are your classes. Here are the races.
Here's your weapons.
What do you want? And D&D is a game about making, like, a lot of the RPG games nowadays are like on video game consoles are so like
Quest based.
not quest based. I'm talking like customizable. Like you can make your character look all like a way that you want them to. But with D&D, you can make your character look exactly the way that you want them to. You could make that character act exactly the way that you want them to. Why? Because you are the character. You control it. Are there some things that are like set in stone, like this is one way that you can make it. This is uh you know I'm trying to think of the word. Pre-made, preset character appearance, and all of that and what they do. Absolutely. Like if you're brand new and you know nothing, and somebody's like, "Hey, you want to play this for? You want to join us for a session?" And you're like,
it.
"Yeah," and they're like, "Well, I don't know what I would be and all that." You can be like, "Look, here are some preset classes. This is what they are race wise. This is what they can do. This is their abilities. This is what their job is."
And this is what they can get later on in higher levels.
Yeah, and then you go ahead and like you're playing and you're like, okay, that person gets really interested. And they're like, cool. How do I want to make it different? Here you go. And you can customize it right down to the, right down to the sole of their shoe. backstory wise, we're not going to even get started in that. What are their motivations? Why are they doing this? Dude, you can make it as epic as of a backstory or as tragic as one as you want, and it's going to touch on things individually.
And that's gonna give the DM or the GM ideas on how to take the party.
Well, it's not even that. It's and this is something that I found. Your how somebody writes their backstory always seems to have some semblance of their life in it. Like whether it's the tone that is being used or whether it's some of the experiences that character had went through or whether it's you know something some you it is impossible for you to write a backstory and have no part of your life somewhere in there. Impossible. And maybe that's something that they're just trying to figure out. Maybe it's some
Do you
way
find
of
out things
coping.
about yourself in these tabletop games that you couldn't work out before, you didn't see very well before?
Like I run a game for you guys and I'm learning patience because y'all fuckers don't want to see him to
We like to take it slower. He likes to, okay, hurry up and wait. Military mentality.
No, it's not even that. It's all right, how long are we going to stand here looking at a tree?
As long as it takes to learn its secrets.
It has no
Consent,
secrets.
please.
It's a tree. The tree is just a tree.
The gazebo was a gazebo until I brought it to life and it killed everybody in my party. But that's a different story in D&D.
But with my other game, because I play a game online with some dope ass people, you know.
Especially the one from New Zealand. We love you.
Well, there's two.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are two from New Zealand, and they're both dope. One's my dungeon master. One is the person who's actually running the game. Another one is another character who my character looks at as like, well, I don't remember having a family, so this is the closest thing I have to a family. You know.
You hurt her, you will die.
Well, no, the character's actually male. Um, my character is ambiguous. They're gender
He is
fluid.
gender fluid.
So my character is they. The
He
other
could be a
character
big
is a he.
burly dude dressed in a pink frilly dress.
No, my character is a halfling bard.
So he could have his lute and
I don't have a
be
lute.
dressed in
My character's
a
main
pink frilly dress.
my character's main instrument of choice is drums, and when they drum, majority of the beats are the beginning to the Flash Gordon song that Queen did. The dun 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 dun. Like quite literally, that's what pretty much all of their music is based around. Granted, right now their drums are busted and they need fixed, but and they have a shawarma right now. So, but no, it's like in that game, I'm learning like how would how other people, how other individuals are looked at when they don't conform to societal standards of gender. You know, now keep in mind, I don't subscribe to the notion that there are as many genders as anybody can think about. I don't sexually identify as toast or an Apache helicopter.
Don't let him lie to you. He sexually identifies as an attack helicopter.
No, I don't. You know, but at the same time, I know that me personally, I know there are males. I know there are females. I know there are people who are transitioning. I know there are people who don't see themselves as either.
Non-binary.
Non-binary. I know that there are people who are like one in some circumstances they're male or more masculine. In other circumstances they're more female. You got that gender fluidity. And that's fine. I understand all that. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't care. Pretty much what it boils down to. As long as you're a good person to me, I'm cool with you. You know. but at the same, I'm learning in a way how some of these people get treated, and it's
Shit.
shameful. It goes back to the what we were talking about before. Love, love everybody. It should not matter.
Love thy neighbor as thyself for all the Christianity peeps.
Yeah, you know. So what should it matter how somebody sees themselves? Now, keep in mind, if I look at you and I misrepresent what you are, one, I'm sorry. Especially if I've never met you. Don't just go ahead and fly off the handle. How dare you throw my gender? Okay, first off, I don't know you, so I can't say the correct pronoun.
Like we have a friend who was playing in our campaign who has taken some time away to work on himself. He's transitioning from female to male. Just the things that I've seen people saying to him, it it's ridiculous.
It's sick.
It really is. It's disgusting. It's shameful. And for somebody like him to be able to play a game with us where they can be themselves and be free and you know to work things out in their own mind and their own heart. You know, it's great. That's why we love D&D so much because you can take all that experience from life and add it into your game. And it's not going to make the game bad. It's going to make it better.
It's gonna make it more interesting.
It's definitely interesting listening to him on Friday nights.
Me or
You.
oh yeah. But it's I think it's something that everybody should at least experience. You know, if you're curious about it, check out Facebook. Check for some local groups. Go down to your local game store and find out if they're running anything. Check out Roll 20. There are plenty of people who are looking for people to join their game on Roll 20, and you don't actually have to be face to face. Like, I play D&D on Fridays, via Roll 20 and Discord. And that's just how I do. And it's great because if I don't want to, like, if I just want to sit here and not have to worry about, looking my best or anything else like that, I don't have to. I can sit here in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and be like, cool, I'm playing. But I think it's something that people should at least try. See how they feel about it. Dip their toes in it. And if you enjoy it, great, keep playing. If you didn't enjoy it and it was just a one-time thing, well, now you know.
Whether you play 1 or 100 sessions, it doesn't matter. It's one of those things where at least experience a small part of our world for yourself.
Experience Give yourself the opportunity to experience
Something different.
life in another shoe. Like, and we're not even talking like, oh, that guy down the street. No, no, no. We're talking like strap on some plate mail armor and grab your sword and shield and experience life that way.
And don't forget the pumps.
Yeah. But I think that's a good place to stop. I think we got a lot off our chest. We can breathe a little bit easier. Granted, we still have a couple more hours of dealing with pre-fire dumpster fire.
And yes, for those outside the US, we are talking about the US presidential election, which is a very tight race. I don't think I've ever in my lifetime seen it this tight.
Bush and Gore.
Well, let's not even get to the dumpster fire of Al Gore. I
But
don't even know. But, just, we have a lot that is going to be processing over the next week. And hopefully by next week, we will know which dumpster fire is our president and which is being evicted from the White House or which is staying in the White House. So hopefully, if people learn how to count and every vote counts, we should be knowing maybe sometime next year.
but you know, don't forget to love each other. Don't forget to be kind. Don't forget to be patient.
And like I said in our first podcast,
Episode.
podcast,
Episode.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. You smell what I'm stepping in. But like I said last time, be kind to one person a day and you'll be surprised how much better the world is.
You know, just be kind. Don't be a dick. I think that's gonna be my sign off. Don't be a dick.
Don't
Don't
be
be a
a
dick.
dick. See you next time.
Take it easy, guys.